Welcome to Friday. It is the 20th day of December, 2024. This day where the podcast being brought to you by Converse County Tourism. Douglas and Glen Rock, Wyoming are bustling with action this holiday season. Plan your excursion, including fun activities, beautiful downtowns, and historic treasures. Learn more at conversecountytourism.com. Well, it's more of the same as we go through today and the upcoming weekend. This mild and windy December weather pattern is going to hold for a little bit longer. So it's really same weather, different day for many of you. We are going to have small little waves rotating around the big ridge of high pressure that's overhead. And every time one of these little waves crosses the Continental Divide, it's going to cause the wind to go up. Then they'll leave, the winds go down. Then the next wave comes, the winds go up, kind of back and forth with windy periods. We don't expect anything as strong as what we had over the last couple of days, but do expect some windy periods with above average temperatures. We will see some scattered snow for folks in Montana and North Dakota on Sunday, as one of these waves will be a little bit stronger then. That may produce a few snow showers in western areas of Wyoming as it moves through. Another wave comes through on Monday. Now that one's a little stronger. That one will produce more in the way of snow showers over the Intermountain West, especially along and west of the Continental Divide and over and near the mountains. Not a big system, but if traveling Monday west of the Divide, you'll want to keep an eye on it. It'll cause a few slick spots in some areas. Then we have this small system, Christmas Day. It's nothing to write home about, but we do have a little wave Christmas Day that'll be a little stronger, a little bigger. But again, it's got to get through the high pressure ridge. It's going to help break the high pressure ridge down, but it's going to lose some of its muster. But we do have a system on Christmas Day. And for some of you west of the Continental Divide, you will have some snowfall on Christmas Day, especially up in the higher elevations. A changing weather pattern as the high pressure ridge finally goes away will be developing just after Christmas. So the period between Christmas and New Year's and just after New Year's Day is likely going to be a different scenario than what we're under right now. It'd be nice to show you photos of precipitation. Haven't been able to do that lately, but we have more beautiful cloud photos. Wow, take a look at this. From Douglas to Glen Rock, just fabulous photos coming in of those clouds yesterday morning. And then also from South Dakota, basically a similar situation. So just beautiful vistas and beautiful sunrises and sunsets continue. But boy, it would be nice to get some moisture. But it's hard to do this when we're in a pattern like this. The pattern that's producing these beautiful lenticular clouds, these beautiful cloudscapes, is just not what you need to make it rain or snow, which we desperately need. When we look at the satellite imagery this morning, you look at the Pacific and you go, how could it not get wet and stormy? We got a storm here, we've got a storm here, this Pacific wave train. These waves are all stacked up and lined up to come through. But we continue to have this persistent ridge in this area, so the systems go up, over, and down. So it's not that there's a lack of storms or lack of weather, just that the pattern just cannot break through. And if we take a look at the last 90 days, I know this is preaching to the choir, but I know a lot of you are extremely upset about the lack of precipitation. I get it. And when you take a look at the data, you can really see it. We have some very large holes, donut holes I call them, across the western high plains. And this has been a persistent pattern really since September, where this area and this arch right here, and notice there's a pattern that it's east of the Continental Divide, we have these areas that are just not getting the precipitation. So if you live in these holes, you feel snake bit. I get it. Now look at areas just to the south. We have the absolute opposite. You have abundant precipitation with all the storms that happened in Colorado, New Mexico, then on into the plains. Sometimes it's a game of inches. You have a strong gradient right there. One reason, and really there's a lot of reasons, but the pattern has been since the fall for systems to either take a route like this in a split flow, which really happened this fall, and now we're getting these systems that are going up and over. That's why you see the heavier precipitation up here and the Pacific Northwest up and around. So the pattern's been just like this. You get down sloping and you end up with this dry hole right here. It's been like that for the last 90 days and maybe a little bit longer. How do you break the spell? Why do these patterns set up? Well, they do set up. They do happen. Some years they're not there. You go many years where they're not. But historically, we've seen these patterns before, and they're hard to break. Now, this area right here was in drought status not that long ago. It's gone. Drought worsening here. Geographically speaking, they're not very far apart. It's also getting more wet now in the Pacific Northwest. Eventually the dam will break, but when? And if we take a historical perspective, these are the temperature anomalies so far for the month of December. So for the month of December, we all know it's been a lot colder in the northern plains, the Great Lakes in the east, and warm in the west. Now, a lot of times people forget. A year ago, if you think this has been a warm December, look at a year ago. This was December of 2023. That was a blowtorch. This year is different. Warmer than average, yes, but not as nearly as warm as it was last year. And then in 2022, I've had people tell me 2022 was just the same. Well, it wasn't. December of 2022 was actually pretty cold in the west and the northern plains. So you have to have a perspective that's just not the last 3 months. You have to take a look at things in a bigger picture over a larger time scale. But we certainly, there's no doubt about it, we're snake bit in many areas. And again, I'm going to go back and show you some data. Again, historical perspectives are important. Let's take a proxy location. Let's pick Cheyenne, Wyoming, one of those areas that's very, very dry. Cheyenne's only at 10 inches of moisture for the year, but I need to remind you, the 2023 water year was one of the wettest Cheyenne has seen, with over 20 inches of precipitation in 2023. But it's gone cut in half with only 10 inches this past year. When we take a look at when precipitation normally falls, the bulk of the precipitation for most locations east of the Rockies in the western high plains is right here in these months. You have a sliding average precipitation from September to December that continues into January before it starts to increase on February. The driest months of the year are right here. So you tend to have dry periods this time of year. You just normally don't get a lot of precipitation. But when you don't get anything, especially as dry as it was in September and October, that's really exacerbating the problem right here into here. So how do you turn the corner? Well, first of all, you got to get rid of this La Nina pattern. It's not a terribly strong La Nina. It's there. You can see the cold water temperatures there. We're seeing these water temperatures get warmer, which is good, something good to see for a change in the weather pattern later on. But many of you are snake bit, and a lot of you are frustrated. I am one of those. Hopefully, these changing patterns, the weakening La Nina and the warmer temperatures in the northern Pacific will instigate some changes in the longer term and get these storms into the Pacific to have a better chance of crossing the divide and getting into the plains and beginning to get us those upslope storms. You've got to get upslope. You've got to have systems that can bring air uphill, not downhill east of the divide. That's certainly not going to happen in this high pressure ridge we have now. And we have these little waves right here that are going to be rippling on through, making it windy. Here's a wave here, here's a wave here, here's a wave here. And as these cycle over and go over the divide of the Rockies of Montana and Canada, that's where it's going to get windy. So here are the wind gusts and the wind predictions between now and Sunday. Nothing like what we just experienced, but notice along the divide and east of the divide, there will be windy periods. When we take a look at one of the stronger waves on Sunday, for you holiday travelers, this little wave cuts through the ridge right here and will produce a little bit of weather. So this is the precipitation forecast across the U.S. from today through Sunday if traveling. So you can see the big ridge right there, keeping things dry, and then systems going up over and around then into the Great Lakes. So there's going to continue to be wintry weather in the nation's midsection, New England, a lot of the Great Lakes, and again up into the northern plains in the Pacific Northwest. That's what it looks like, travelers, between now and Sunday. Do watch out for a little bit of ice. For you folks in Montana, North Dakota traveling, if you're going up to there, watch out for slick roads this weekend. On Monday, we have another little wave coming through. Again, nothing to write home about, but this will produce snow showers in the mountains, a few snow showers on the plains. So Monday, travelers, there's going to be a little bit of weather. Again, nothing significant, but going over the mountain passes in this region here and across this area up here, watch out for a few slick conditions. Then on Christmas Day, here comes the next wave. Notice each wave gets a little bigger, a little stronger, but it's still trying to attack the ridge, trying to break it down. So this one will push in a little more moisture, for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. That Christmas Eve, Christmas Day situation is going to be a little bit of moisture, a little bit of wintry weather, not a lot, but if traveling Christmas Eve in the Pacific Northwest and the Intermountain West, you will encounter some weather. Then on Christmas Day into Thursday, this system heads across the divide in a weakened state, but it will produce a little bit of precipitation. This is the Wednesday system. So this is for Tuesday, Christmas Eve. It comes in right here. Christmas Day, you'll see the system come through. Notice the gradient of decreasing precipitation west of the divide to east of the divide. But there's going to be a little bit of weather with this system right here in the form of snow showers on Christmas Day into Christmas night. Then further out, the next wave comes in on Friday. It pushes in, attacks the ridge a little bit more. Notice we're going to start to see these stronger Pacific jet stream winds get further into the coast and further inland. This is also changing the dynamic in the east where they're going to get a big warm up. What we have to do is get these strong jet stream winds to come into the west, buckle a little bit more to carve out a trough, allowing the colder air and the moisture back in and the opportunities for upslope with one of these storms east of the divide. If that happens, it'll be between Christmas and New Year's or around New Year's Day, and that'll be something we'll take a look at on Monday. Have yourself a good weekend. We'll see you Monday.